on this issue of building a precise layout, a precise wireframed layout, I should mention that we can always make use of guides in Illustrator, and there's a couple of cool tricks that I want to show you with your guides. Now, if you don't know about guides, I hope you do. I mean, they've been around forever, and designers use them all the time. Essentially, what they are non-printing horizontal and vertical lines that we can use to help lay out our objects and line our objects up to one another. Oftentimes, what I'll do is I'll set up guides almost as I would traditionally think of page margins as, if that makes sense. So in other words, I would set it up so that all of the objects that appear inside my layout, for example, on the left-hand side here, are 20 pixels or 10 pixels away from the edge of the document, if that makes sense. And same with the right-hand side. So I might have a gap of space on the left and right sides of my document of a certain value, whatever that value would be, 10 pixels, 20 pixels, 15 pixels, whatever I decide, and that'll keep my layout nice and tight. So let me show you how I like to work with guides. I use guides in kind of an oddball way. I use a kind of an oddball technique for guides. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to throw on my rulers inside Illustrator. Try hitting Control or Command R on your keyboard, and you'll see that we now have vertical and horizontal rulers appearing inside our document, right? Now, I like this idea of margins. I'm going to use this example inside my layout. So I've decided that I don't want any objects inside my layout coming within 10 pixels of the left and right edges of my layout. I've just decided I want to have that gap of space inside my layout. Now, some objects, like the main menu, might extend all the way to the edge of the layout. That's fine. But the majority of my objects I want to keep sort of in this contained area. So what I could do is I could move my cursor into the vertical ruler over on the left-hand side, and I could simply click and drag out and drop this guy at the 10 pixel mark on the horizontal ruler, which you can see there right across the top. Now, as you can see though, if I'm not zoomed in, it's pretty darn tough to see exactly where that 10 pixel mark is. It's in there somewhere, but I'm really not sure where, right? So maybe I wind up, say, something like that, right? And of course, now I have this blue line showing up. Let me just zoom in here a little bit so you can see that guy. There he is. And of course, I could do that as well way over on the right-hand side as well. I'm just holding down the space bar, by the way, and clicking and dragging. So this guy was 960, so I'd want this guy at 950. Where the heck is 950 on that ruler? I have 936 and I have 972. He's in there somewhere. Maybe about there? I don't really know, though. And I'm not being precise at all, am I? So this is the weird, wacky technique that I want to show you here. This is my oddball technique for precisely laying out guides inside Illustrator. So check this out. I'm going to head up to the View menu and then all the way down to Guides. And I want to make sure that Lock Guides is not checked. Oftentimes, I'm just going to turn that on there. Oftentimes, he is checked just like that. So make sure he's unchecked, okay? And now what we can do is we can actually select our guides and we can move them around, we can adjust them, we can delete them, we can do all kinds of neat things with them. Such as using the X and Y values inside the Transform panel to precisely set these guys. Isn't that nice? So go ahead and select your guide there, as I've done here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set his X value to, any guesses? 10 pixels. Now I know that that guide is sitting exactly at the 10 pixel mark on my ruler, right? So he's exactly 10 pixels in from the left edge of my document. Isn't that snazzy? Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing way over for the fella on the right-hand side. I hope you dragged a guide out for that guy. Go ahead and grab him. And we wanted him to be 10 pixels in from the right-hand edge of the artboard. The artboard dimensions, the width anyway, is 960 pixels. 960 subtract 10 is, of course, 950. Hit Enter to lock that in. There we go. Isn't that nice? So now we have precisely positioned guides. Try saying that 5 times fast. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the View menu, back down to Guides, and I'm going to go ahead and lock my guides so that now I can't accidentally select them and, delete them or move them or anything like that. And by the way, what you may want to do with your layout, you may want to have additional guides as well. I'm just showing you this really quickly here, but you might decide to have some guides running horizontally across the top, through the middle of your layout, something like this, across the bottom. Oftentimes what I'll do too is I'll divide up my layout into thirds, so 3 columns, maybe with 10 pixels of space between each column, something like that, right? Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, there you go. I wanted to at least throw that at you, add that to your arsenal of layout tools.